This is an ancient folk legend passed down through generations in the villages of South India. It tells the story of a woman whose life was shattered by deception, and how her courage against injustice transformed her into a goddess. This is the sacred story of Maramma, who became Marikambe, the eternal guardian of truth. The story begins in a peaceful South Indian village, where faith, tradition, and moral values shaped everyday life. People lived simply, guided by respect for Dharma, the righteous path, and by the social order that held their community together. In that village, honor meant everything. In this village lived a young girl named Maramma. She was the daughter of a respected Brahmin priest, a man known throughout the region for his wisdom and devotion. Her father taught sacred scriptures to many disciples who came to learn from him. Among these students was a young man. Beneath his humble appearance, he concealed darker intentions. From her earliest childhood, Maramma was raised with discipline and devotion. She learned the sacred texts, the rituals, and the values that defined a righteous life. She grew to be gentle, obedient, and compassionate toward all beings. But within her gentle nature, she also possessed a strong sense of self-respect and an unshakable commitment to truth. Among the students who gathered daily at her father's feet was that same disciple, still appearing humble and loyal on the surface. Day after day he watched Maramma from afar. Behind his outward devotion, something dangerous was taking root, an obsession that had nothing to do with love and everything to do with possession. The disciple did not desire Maramma out of genuine love or respect. His heart was filled with greed, for status, for comfort, for recognition in society. He saw marriage to the priest's daughter as a way to elevate his own position, to claim a place of honor he had not earned. To fulfill his selfish desire, he constructed an elaborate web of lies. He falsely claimed noble lineage. He invented stories about his good character and presented himself as a worthy husband. Every word he spoke to the trusting priest was a calculated deception. Maramma's father, believing completely in the sincerity of his disciple, accepted these lies as truth. His heart was pure. He could not imagine such deceit in one he had taught for so long. With no suspicion whatsoever, he agreed to give his beloved daughter in marriage to this unworthy man. Maramma's father, believing completely in the sincerity of his disciple, accepted these lies as truth. His heart was pure. He could not imagine such deceit in one he had taught for so long. With no suspicion whatsoever, he agreed to give his beloved daughter in marriage to this unworthy man. The marriage was performed according to sacred Vedic rituals, witnessed by the holy fire and by the gods themselves. The flames rose in blessing as the vows were exchanged. Outwardly, it appeared to be a righteous union blessed by heaven, but inwardly, it was built entirely on falsehood. The fire witnessed a lie. No sooner were the wedding rituals complete than the man's true nature began to emerge. The humble disciple vanished, replaced by a cold, arrogant, and cruel husband. Maramma, who had entered the marriage with hope and trust, received neither love nor respect from the man who had deceived her. Day after day, month after month, Maramma suffered in silence. She endured humiliation, harsh words, and emotional pain. She believed, as she had been taught, that patience was a wife's duty. She bore her suffering with dignity, never complaining, never revealing the truth of her torment to anyone. But truth cannot remain hidden forever. Over time, strange behaviors in her household and whispered conversations among the village women reached Maramma's ears. Small inconsistencies, suspicious details, and anxious glances from those who knew her father's disciple began to piece together a picture she had never imagined. Finally, the full truth revealed itself. Maramma discovered the shocking reality. The man she had married, the man who shared her home and her life, was none other than her father's own disciple. The one who had deceived her father, deceived her, and deceived the entire village. Every word he had spoken was a lie.
No, it can't be.
The realization shattered Maramma's heart. Everything she had trusted, her marriage, her dignity, her understanding of right and wrong, had been violated. The foundation of her life crumbled in an instant. But in that moment of deepest grief, something remarkable happened. She did not break. Grief did not defeat her. Instead, in that moment, something powerful began to awaken within her soul. With courage born of truth, Maramma confronted her husband face to face. She stood before him and demanded the truth. She asked him to confess his deception before Dharma itself, before the cosmic law of righteousness that governs all existence. Her voice was steady, her gaze unwavering. Shocking, the man admitted his deception openly, but he showed no guilt, no shame, no repentance. As he spoke of how he had fooled them all, his arrogance only deepened. His cruelty, now fully unmasked, ignited Maramma's sense of injustice until it burned like fire within her. In that moment, standing before the flame that had witnessed her wedding, Maramma made a decisive choice. She would no longer submit to falsehood. She would no longer bow before arrogance. She chose justice over fear, dignity over submission. The path before her was clear. And so Maramma delivered justice. Not from cruelty, not from rage, but from the sacred duty of protecting truth. The deceiver who had destroyed her honor, who had poisoned her life with lies, met his end by her hand. In that moment, she became both judge and executor of divine justice. The weight of that act settled upon her soul, heavy but righteous. To cleanse the space where so much betrayal had occurred, Maramma set the house on fire. The flames rose high into the night sky, consuming every trace of falsehood. And as the fire raged around her, a miracle occurred. Her human suffering transformed into divine power. The flames did not destroy her, they purified her. They became the forge in which the goddess was born. From the sacred flames, Maramma rose as Marikambe, glorious, a goddess of fierce compassion and unwavering justice. She emerged radiant, adorned with fire, her multiple arms holding symbols of power and protection. Her eyes held both the fury of righteousness and the warmth of a mother's love. The people who witnessed her transformation did not worship her in fear. They bowed in profound respect for the justice she embodied. Her story lives on wherever truth is threatened and courage rises to defend it. In every village where her flame is lit, Marikambe watches. In every heart that cries out against injustice, she listens. She is not the goddess of destruction, but the goddess of transformation. The sacred fire that burns away falsehood and leaves only what is true. Her story reminds us, When deception wears the crown, truth will seize the flame, and from the ashes of suffering the divine will rise. May the grace of Marikambe be with you always.